Welcome to Global Headlines, where we bring you the most important news from around the world. I'm True Cope, and tonight we find ourselves at a confluence of critical events, each demanding our attention, our understanding, and indeed, our empathy. From the fragile hopes for peace in regions scarred by protracted conflict, to the devastating power of nature unleashed, and the undeniable consequences of a changing climate, the stories we're covering underscore the interconnectedness of our world and the urgent challenges we collectively face. We'll delve into the complex negotiations aimed at silencing a devastating war and the painstaking efforts to bring adversaries to the table. We'll journey to communities reeling from natural disasters, witnessing both the immense scale of destruction and the resilience of the human spirit in the face of unimaginable loss. In Nigeria, torrential rains have unleashed deadly floods, leaving a trail of devastation and a desperate search for survivors. In the Swiss Alps, a landscape renowned for its beauty has become a scene of destruction as a glacier collapses, a stark reminder of our planet's fragility. And across North America, the skies themselves tell a story, as unprecedented wildfires in Canada cast a pall of smoke far and wide, impacting millions and forcing us to confront the escalating climate crisis. These are not just headlines, they are narratives of human experience, of struggle, survival, and the enduring search for solutions. Our aim tonight is not merely to report these events, but to provide context, to explore the underlying factors, and to understand the profound impact these developments have on lives and communities across the globe. We believe that an informed public is an empowered one, and it is with this conviction that we bring you these critical updates. So, let's get started. Tonight, a significant development in the ongoing Israel-Hamas conflict. The United States has put forth a comprehensive ceasefire proposal, a plan that many hope could offer a desperately needed reprieve. This proposal outlines a 60-day cessation of hostilities, a period intended not just to pause the fighting, but to create a window for critical actions. Central to this plan is the release of hostages, a deeply emotional and complex issue that has been at the forefront of international concern. Alongside this, the proposal aims to facilitate a substantial increase in humanitarian aid to Gaza, where the civilian population faces a dire and worsening crisis. The details are still emerging, but the intent is clear: to break the cycle of violence and alleviate suffering. Israel, after what we understand to have been intensive internal deliberations, has reportedly agreed to the terms laid out in this American-backed proposal. This is a crucial step, as Israeli commitment is fundamental to any potential ceasefire taking hold. The agreement from the Israeli side signals a willingness, at least in principle, to engage with this framework for de-escalation. However, the path to a lasting peace, or even a sustained pause, is fraught with complexities. The pressures on the Israeli government are immense, both domestically and internationally, and the situation on the ground remains incredibly volatile. Every hour that passes without renewed widespread conflict is a small victory, but the foundations of this potential calm are still being tested. The focus now shifts significantly to Hamas, which has confirmed it is currently reviewing the proposal. Their response will be pivotal. The stakes could not be higher for the people of Gaza, for the hostages still being held, and for the broader stability of the region. International mediators are likely working behind the scenes, urging all parties to seize this opportunity. There's a palpable sense of cautious anticipation, a hope tempered by the harsh realities of past failed attempts, and the deep-seated mistrust that pervades this conflict. The world watches, hoping that this initiative might finally pave the way for a more sustained period of calm and a chance to address the profound humanitarian needs. In another theater of conflict, there are tentative signs of diplomatic movement, though shadowed by deep skepticism. Russia has publicly announced its intention to send a delegation to Istanbul, Turkey, for what would be a second round of peace talks with Ukraine, slated for June 2nd. Istanbul has previously served as a venue for such discussions, offering a neutral ground for these critical negotiations. The announcement itself is a notable development, suggesting a potential willingness from Moscow to re-engage in dialogue aimed at resolving the brutal war that has raged for well over a year, causing immense human suffering and global disruption. The international community is observing these developments closely, eager for any indication of a genuine path towards de-escalation. However, Ukraine's response has been, quite understandably, one of caution and measured consideration. Kiev has indicated that it is awaiting a formal, concrete proposal from Russia before committing its own delegation to these renewed negotiations. This stance reflects the hard-earned experience of previous diplomatic engagements, some of which Ukraine viewed as unproductive or merely tactical maneuvers. Ukrainian officials are stressing the need for substantive issues to be on the table, and for any talks to be based on principles of international law and respect for Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity. The memory of past atrocities and the ongoing daily toll of the war make any swift embrace of talks without clear preconditions unlikely from the Ukrainian side. The backdrop to these potential talks remains incredibly complex. Fighting continues to be fierce along vast stretches of the front line, and trust between the two sides is virtually non-existent. Previous rounds of talks have failed to achieve a breakthrough, often collapsing due to irreconcilable differences on core issues such as territorial control and security guarantees. The involvement of international partners and the nature of any proposed agenda will be critical in determining whether this new initiative in Istanbul has a greater chance of success. For now, it remains a flicker of possibility in a conflict that has already inflicted unimaginable devastation. A hope that dialogue might eventually prevail over destruction. Chapter 3. We turn now to a heartbreaking natural disaster unfolding in West Africa. At least 110 people have tragically lost their lives in Nigeria due to severe flooding triggered by relentless torrential rains. The community of Mokwa, located in Niger State, has been particularly hard hit by this deluge. Reports from the ground paint a grim picture of widespread devastation, with homes submerged, infrastructure crippled, and livelihoods washed away. The sheer volume of water has overwhelmed local drainage systems and riverbanks, leading to flash floods that caught many residents unprepared. This is a stark reminder of the vulnerability of many communities to extreme weather events, which are becoming increasingly frequent and intense. Rescue operations are currently in full swing, a desperate race against time as emergency services and local volunteers work tirelessly to reach those stranded or missing. The conditions are incredibly challenging, with floodwaters making many areas inaccessible and hampering the efforts of the brave individuals on the ground. Authorities are struggling to assess the full extent of the damage, a task complicated by the ongoing rainfall and the vast area affected. Beyond the immediate loss of life, there are grave concerns about a potential humanitarian crisis, with thousands displaced, lacking shelter, clean water, and food. The risk of waterborne diseases in such conditions is also a significant worry for health officials in the region. This tragedy in Mokwa is not an isolated incident for Nigeria, a country that has grappled with recurrent severe flooding in recent years. Experts point to a combination of factors including inadequate urban planning, deforestation which exacerbates runoff, and the undeniable impact of climate change leading to more extreme rainfall patterns. As the waters eventually recede, the long and arduous process of recovery and rebuilding will begin for the people of Mokwa. But this event also underscores the urgent need for greater investment in flood defenses, early warning systems, and climate adaptation measures to protect vulnerable populations across Nigeria and beyond. The human cost of inaction is, as we are seeing, devastatingly high. Chapter 4. A stunning and terrifying event in the Swiss Alps has brought the stark realities of our changing climate into sharp focus. A significant glacier collapse has led to the near-total devastation of the picturesque village of Blatten. Reports indicate that approximately 90% of the village has been destroyed by the ensuing torrent of ice, rock, and water. What was once a tranquil alpine settlement, nestled amidst breathtaking scenery, has been transformed into a scene of widespread destruction. This is not a slow, creeping change. This was a sudden catastrophic event, highlighting the immense power locked within these frozen giants and the immediate danger posed by their increasing instability. Emergency services were immediately mobilized and are currently responding to the disaster. The priority, of course, is to account for all residents and visitors and to ensure the safety of the surrounding areas, as the risk of further collapses or secondary events like landslides cannot be discounted. The challenges for these rescue and recovery teams are immense, operating in difficult mountainous terrain now rendered even more treacherous. The psychological impact on the survivors, those who have lost their homes, their community, and perhaps even loved ones, is unimaginable. The village of Blatten, a place with a long history intertwined with its alpine environment, now faces an uncertain future, its very existence erased in a matter of moments. This tragic collapse in the Swiss Alps is a dramatic illustration of a phenomenon scientists have been warning about for decades: the rapid melting of glaciers due to global warming. As temperatures rise, glaciers are retreating at an alarming rate, becoming thinner and more unstable. This increases the likelihood of such catastrophic events, not just in the Alps, but in mountainous regions around the world. The loss of Blatten serves as a painful and visceral example of how climate change is not an abstract future threat, but a present-day reality with devastating, tangible consequences for communities and ecosystems. It forces us to confront the urgent need for global action to mitigate climate change and to adapt to its unavoidable impacts. Chapter 5. An environmental crisis of staggering proportions continues to unfold in Canada, where record-breaking wildfires are raging across vast swaths of the country. These fires, unprecedented in their scale and intensity at this time of year, have consumed millions of acres of forest, forcing tens of thousands of people from their homes and exacting a heavy toll on wildlife and natural habitats. The images emerging from the fire zones are apocalyptic: towering flames, scorched landscapes, and skies filled with thick, choking smoke. Firefighters from Canada and internationally are battling these blazes under extremely challenging conditions, but the sheer number and size of the fires are overwhelming resources. The impact of these Canadian wildfires is not confined by national borders. A significant and alarming consequence has been the deterioration of air quality across large parts of the United States. Smoke plumes carrying fine particulate matter have drifted hundreds, even thousands of miles south and east, blanketing major cities from the Midwest to the East Coast in a hazardous haze. Air quality alerts have become commonplace, with health officials urging residents, especially vulnerable individuals such as children, the elderly, and those with respiratory conditions, to limit outdoor activities and take precautions. This has brought the reality of the fires home to millions who are far removed from the actual flames, experiencing the crisis through burning eyes, scratchy throats, and the eerie orange-tinged skies. Experts are unequivocal in linking the severity and extent of these wildfires to ongoing climate change. Warmer temperatures, prolonged droughts, and changes in weather patterns are creating tinderbox conditions, making forests more susceptible to ignition and enabling fires to spread more rapidly and burn more intensely. What we are witnessing is not just a bad fire season. It is increasingly seen as a manifestation of a new, more dangerous climate reality. The immediate focus is on containing the fires and protecting lives and property, but the long-term implications are profound, signaling a need for a radical rethinking of forest management, community preparedness, and most critically, a global acceleration of efforts to combat the root causes of climate change. The events we've covered tonight, from the delicate negotiations for ceasefires in war-torn regions to the heartbreaking aftermath of natural disasters and the pervasive impact of climate-driven crises, paint a picture of a world in constant flux, a world facing profound challenges. Each story, whether it's the quest for peace in Gaza, the potential for dialogue between Ukraine and Russia, the devastation of floods in Nigeria, the shocking glacier collapse in Switzerland, or the far-reaching smoke from Canadian wildfires, underscores the fragility of stability and the resilience of the human spirit when confronted with adversity. These are not distant events. They are deeply human stories that resonate with shared concerns for safety, for justice, and for the future of our planet. Understanding the complexities behind these headlines is the first step towards meaningful engagement and, where possible, constructive action. The challenges are multifaceted, often interlinked, demanding not just our attention but our commitment to seeking solutions, supporting those in need, and holding accountable those with the power to effect change. It is through informed awareness that we can hope to navigate these turbulent times with greater wisdom and compassion. As we've seen, the consequences of conflict, environmental degradation, and climate change are not abstract. They are felt in tangible ways by millions around the globe. Staying informed is more critical than ever, not to be overwhelmed by the scale of the problems, but to be empowered by the knowledge that understanding can lead to empathy, and empathy can fuel the desire for a better, safer world.